In the magical world of Black Clover, there are 9 individuals that stand far above the rest. These, of course, are the Magic Knight captains. I mean, Asta and Yuno are amazing on their own, but these captains have some power behind them, and their relationships with each other really show how much they care about one another as well. We meet them early on when Asta and Yuno try out for the squads. It was so exciting in episode 5 to see the captains watching the first fights, and then offering people to join a squad. This made the captains seem more intimidating as they just sat there, till they stood up to offer someone a place in their squad. Of course, these squads are the Black Bulls, Crimson Lions, Golden Dawn, Silver Eagles, Blue Roses, Green Mantis, Coral Peacock, Purple Orca, and the Azure Deer. Since I told you the squads, let's get into the captains that lead each one of these squads. Now I know each of these captains have scorecards, but so many others use those cards to make their list. I'm going to be ranking the captains of the practicality and use we see in the anime and manga. Starting out with the youngest and newest captain, we have Rill of the Azure Deer. Now I'm not saying for sure he's the weakest captain, but from what we have seen, his impulsive actions will cause him to lose. Since he doesn't have the life experience that other captains have, he's only 19 years old, but his painting magic suits him well. You see, this magic allows him to create anything that his mind pictures. Using the paintbrush and palette, he activates his magic in a swirl of colored dots. This was put to great use when he uses Spring of Restriction to capture Gouldre Poisat when it was discovered he was eating the Eye of the Midnight Sun. His joyful personality shows through when he tries to lighten the mood after Fuego Leone Vermilion is injured after the attack on the capital. Unlike some of the other captains, Rill does not care if someone comes from nobility, even though he does himself. When we see his backstory in episode 76, it shows a child who is broken and a mother at her wit's end. Rill had an issue when he was a child if a painting wasn't right. He would lash out with his magic, causing explosions. This created a dangerous issue that his mother could not deal with, leaving his butler Walter to deal with it. In the end, Walter is injured by one of Rill's explosive paints, but slaps some sense into Rill. This is when Rill left home and started his road to become a magical knight. We also see a depressed Rill after he loses his match in the tournament to Yuno and his team. A little manga spoiler, but Rill is also the reincarnation of an elf named Lyra. From what we see in the manga, Lyra was super loyal to not only the elves, but human allies as well. Lyra not only had paint magic, but he had something called scribble magic, something we have yet to see. Scribble magic seems to allow Lyra to manipulate the property of his drawings, which would be something very cool to see in the anime. By far the coolest attack we see from both Rill and Lyra is Phantom Dragon Vovir's Shout. The next captain only took over after the former captain was exposed for helping the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Kaiser Genvorka and the Purple Orca are still recovering from the discovery of Gulder Poisat's betrayal. Again, we don't see a lot of his ability, but from what is shown in the manga, he'd be harder to take down compared to Rill. He took the role of captain to bring honor back to his squad and help out his squad mates. From what we know about Kaiser, he is a rather prim man who takes offense to Yami teasing him when the Black Bulls beat his squad in the Star Festival. Manga again, he is later going to be possessed by an elf spirit, which will cause some issues due to his vortex magic. There isn't as much on him just because he became a captain during the series, unlike Rill. The next major captain is Dorothy Unsworth of the Coral Peacock. Yes, I know she seems to always be asleep, but man, in the manga, her magic is crazy powerful. Unlike the other captains, she is the reincarnation of an elf named Reeve. Dorothy uses dream magic, and it's as OP as it sounds. Anything she dreams, she's able to trap you in her grimoire. The issue is she can only use her magic on people within her dream world. That means if she is unable to pull you into her world, her magic will not affect you. This makes her magic very situational, and even though it's super powerful, I can't put her any higher than this. Just because, what if she's fighting someone with spatial magic like Finral? He can port himself away and use range attacks, but if you're caught in her magic, you're in a world of hurt. Anything Dorothy dreams up in this magical realism comes into existence. For example, she can dream up restraints around someone she is fighting, and they would then tie her opponent down. What's even more OP about her magic is that those in this dream realm will grow sleepier and sleepier as time passes, and if they fall asleep, they'll never wake up. But there's also a flaw with her magic. People can cause Dorothy to think of things and bring them into existence as well. Another flaw comes out in chapter 184 of the manga when Vanessa's red string of Fate Cat saved them from being killed by the possessed Dorothy attack. Another flaw is when Sally starts yelling about existing and Dorothy starts imagining doors. Then in the next chapter, Vanessa and Charmy combine their magic attack to make a doll that becomes the real Dorothy. In the fight we see in the manga, Dorothy and Reeve face off, leading to Dorothy being victorious and thanking Reeve for the fight. This is another captain we haven't had much focus on, but I can't wait to see what else she can do. One of the best rivals in the show is between Yami and Jack the Ripper. So we're talking about Jack the Ripper of the Green Mantis, and guess what? He does not get possessed or isn't a reincarnation of an elf. This is a man who honestly would scare me to run into because he is always smiling, so you can't really tell what he's thinking. If he likes you or wants to kill you, he will always be smiling. And when he starts laughing softly before he faces off against the Eye of the Midnight Sun, it was pretty creepy. In so many ways, he does live up to his real-life counterpart of Jack the Ripper, just a little bit less of a serial killer. His magic is slash magic, which allows him to create create blades from his mana on his forearms. Two of the spells we have seen him use are the Death Scythe and Death Scythe Lunatic Slash, both against the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Jack can cut things in half so fast, but he is nowhere near Yami's level. Other than Yami, Jack is close in power to most of the other captains. Next is the internal, shy, almost tsundere captain of the Blue Roses, Charlotte Rosalee. Her crush on Yami stops her so many times in the show, and it's fun to watch this strong woman freak out from a man who doesn't even realize she likes him. One of the funniest moments is when Charlotte and Vanessa have a competition at the Star Festival to see who could win Yami's affection, since both women knew that the other also liked Yami. In the end, both women end up drunk, and Charlotte later lamented this fact when Leona kidnapped her and Yami to go train at a volcano that turned into a hot spring. She refused to drink there again because she was afraid of making an ass out of herself again in front of Yami. Charlotte's magic is Briar Magic, which manifests into a whip made out of thorns, which she uses extremely effectively. This was put on display when she was forced to use Mana Skin as she flew up a volcano as a training exercise by Leona. Another time she shows off her magical control is in episode 37 when she wraps her vines around Yami's neck after he'd said something about her harsh words, making it hard for her to find a man to marry her. She gets so flustered afterwards and questions why she insulted him again, but this episode also shows off her fighting skills. She faces off against Raya in the episode, and early on he's able to dodge her attacks, but her Briar creation magic, Corpse Hunting Briar Tree, shows the speed of her attacks, creating vines that quickly move after her target. This is a useful skill in battle, especially when facing slow opponents. Another example of Charlotte's power is the fact that even boosted when she's possessed, she still cannot defeat Yami. Now we are coming into the top 5 with the captain of the Silver Eagles, Noisel Silva. His magic is Mercury magic, and he's very good at using it. He is the older brother of Noelle Silva, who at first he treats like dirt, later coming to apologize to her. This disdain he shows for Noelle is simply because he doesn't want to lose her as he lost her mother. After seeing Noelle's strength, he feels that he won't lose his youngest sister anymore. This could be used against Noisel, and I will touch more on this later. Noisel has great disdain for Yami since he is not from the Clover Kingdom and commoners. He shows disdain when Leopold declares Asta his rival, leading to a clash between him and Fuego Leone. This clash shows off how powerful both these captains are. Fun fact, Noisel sees Fuego Leone as his rival, so when he's able to strike back at the Eye of the Midnight Sun, his anger is caused by them cheaply taking out his rival. But going back to episode 21, when these two clash, you can see behind them a Mercury Eagle and a Fire Lion respectively. Now when we see him face off against Fauna, who is a fire user from the Eye of the Midnight Sun, this is a bad matchup for him, because Mercury magic is weak to fire magic, and in theory, Fauna should have soundly beat Noisel, but he held his own looking as if he was bored the entire time. The fight where we see Noisel struggle is the fight against Kivin in chapters 175 through 176 of the manga. When Noisel and Noelle bust in to save Langrestrom, he quickly realizes that any attack can be misdirected, so he has to come up with something quick. His plan is to flood the whole room with his Mercury magic to force Kivin out. Now we have the captain of the Golden Dawn and the unwitting antagonist for this arc of Black Clover, William Vengeance. William is the rebirth of Patoli. He seems to be aware of some of Patoli's actions since he does cry when Patoli kills Julius in chapter 146. William is quite a captain and seems to be very kind to those who serve under him. He was a commoner adopted into a royal family after they saw his magical ability. His magic is World Tree magic, and he has used it in many ways throughout the series of Black Clover. In fact, he and Yami both form their respective squads at the same time, at that moment forming a sort of friendly rivalry they both acknowledge. This is something I do hope they explore more in the upcoming arcs because I want to know more of William's backstory. We know he was adopted into a noble family, but what was his home life like? Did they love him, or did they just love his ability to control magic? Does he have any closer friendships like his and Yami's? Who knows? One of the best examples of his power is shown in episode 85 and 86 when he was in the Azure Deer, where he helps Yami defend a village from bandits. He uses his World Tree magic to block some attacks from hitting Yami when he's outnumbered by the bandits, allowing Yami to counter. In this fight, he uses his magic to create trees to block and roots to attack those they are fighting. Later in episode 86, they are sent out together again, and William saves Yami again, this time from two magical knights who betrayed them. In the end, William is super powerful, but not as great as our last three. Now the Crimson Lions right now have two captains, a brother and sister team, and I'm going to put Fuego Leone below his sister, Leona, just because it's stated she is more powerful. His magic is simply called fire magic, which he uses extremely well. Unlike many of the nobles we see in the Black Clover world, Fuego Leone judges people purely off their actions and not their birth status. Many states that Fuego Leone is a great captain to serve under, being a very charismatic leader, but when he released his power, it illuminates how strong he is. Fuego Leone even stops Asa during the first attack of the Eye of the Midnight Sun from overexerting himself. He is someone to be so feared that in the Eye of the Midnight Sun, they took him out using a cheap trick, even ripping off his left arm. We see Fuego Leone return in chapter 171 to fight the possessed Randall. Randall, who is the vice captain of the Crimson Lions, almost defeated his younger brother Leopold. When Fuego Leone returns, he comes back with a much more mature salamander spirit than the one that Fauna once had. This increases his power greatly. He quickly dispatches the possessed Randall using only salamander's breath. I can't wait to see more of Fuego Leone and his power because I feel we just hit the tip of the iceberg with him. Now on to Leona, the more powerful of the two Crimson Lion captains. Her magic is also called fire magic, but unlike her younger brother, she is much more fiery, quick to anger, and explodes on the people around her. She also refuses to live in the city because then she could not eat meat. Leona seems to be the one captain that no one could say no to. If she wants you to come with her, she will use her fire magic to form a lion's paw and just drag you away. She did it when she kidnapped Yami and Charlotte to go train on a volcano, using those two captains to inspire her own men and those she brought along to reach new heights. She also has a softer side shown when she talks to Noelle, building up her self-confidence. Now by far, the best fight we see from Leona is when she fights Raya out of episode 91. Raya, who uses imitation magic, tries to start the fight by copying Yami's dark magic. She stops it no problem at all, and as she walks forward, Raya comments on how strong Leona is by throwing water magic at her. In response, she simply burns through the water, which her magic is weak to water magic. Even at one point, she uses her lion paws to clap down the mouth of a water construct. This fight also highlights how fast she is in Blur, and also able to change direction in midair to avoid attacks. Her being able to change the direction in midair is super impressive because she doesn't have anything to push off of. During this whole fight, Leona just keeps yelling next at Raya, unaffected by any of his attacks. Even when he throws a massive block of ice at her, she just melts through it to attack him, no issue for her at all. She even breaks through a copy of Asta's anti-magic sword with ease, creating fear in Raya because she has most magical powers far beyond what most humans can obtain. Finally, we have by far the strongest captain and the leader of the Black Bulls, Yami Sukahiro. I was gonna go back and forth between Yami and Leona, but I think Yami is just slightly stronger than Leona. Yami uses dark magic, which he directs using his katana. Most people judge Yami on the fact that he is not from the Clover Kingdom. This made Yami work harder, and he was given a squad of his own at the same time as William. Yami has also mastered a lot of skills, including reading ki and monozone. Yami is also extremely strong and fast, able to go blow for blow with most people. Yami also seems very hard on everyone, but he really does care for those in the Black Bulls. He works to help both Asta and Noelle grow stronger and fights for those he cares about. He also will take any chance he gets to poke fun at the other captains who once looked down on him. He also seems to laugh a lot. He's someone I would love to sit down and have a cold one with. One of his earlier fights, but one of the best ones, was his fight against Pachi. In this fight, we get a taste of Yami's absolute beast mode. He is able to use ki to read his movements, even when he teleports behind Yami. Yami is also able to cut down the light sword that Pachi throws at him with ease. Not destroying them all, he does take a few hits, but he still keeps fighting. In the end, he gets so beat up by the multiple attacks, he has to be saved by 3 captains. Another really good example of Yami's power comes a bit later when Vito is hiding in another dimension. It seems Yami did some training since his last battle of Licht, and learned the new powerful move, Dark Magic, Dark Cloak Dimension Slash. With this one move, he is able to cut into the dimension Vito was in when no one could reach him. Yami is just that strong. Well, this is my list ranking all the Royal Nut captains in Black Clover. What do you think of my list? Do you think the order on 1 and 2 should have been swapped? Do you have a different list? Who is your favorite character from Black Clover so far? Leave all that down in the comments below. Also, keep an eye out for a character bio on Zora IDL, on why he is going to be a great mentor for Asta. I will have that video out in a couple of days, or a couple weeks, I don't know, we'll see. But anyways, you guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the 31 days of anime here on Mystic Sage, and with that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all the other cool stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.